Welcome to Daily Buzz News. In a powerful political commentary, retired Colonel Chris Wyatt sits down with Dante van Wyk following the Western Cape Equality Court's seismic guilty verdict against Julius Malema for hate speech. Van Wyk, whose businesses were destroyed and life threatened, shares his struggles to rebuild amid ongoing death threats after the judgment. The interview explores the wider implications of racism, hate speech, and political tensions in South Africa's volatile landscape.
Which he was convicted of hate speech along with the economic freedom fighters. The South African Human Rights Commission was the first complainant, and Dante van Wyk was the second complainant in this case in the judgment that found him guilty of hate speech and the economic freedom fighters guilty of hate speech. Dante, of course, has been in remote locations, arguably an extremist in hiding, essentially after multiple death threats ever since the Brackenfell incident occurred a few years ago, pretty much destroying his life, constant threats of death and assaults on his fiancée and others in his family simply because he stood his ground when people were abusive. So what follows is an interview with Dante, and let me caution you, the connection where he's at is atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious in the Equality Court of Western Cape. Folks, welcome back to the program. This is Chris. I'm in England right now, and my guest tonight is none other than Dante van Wyk, who is in the lawsuit that wound up in the Western Cape Equality Court, finding Julius Malema guilty of hate speech, and he's one of the people that was affected by this. I want to welcome Dante tonight. He's going to tell us a little bit about his story, and I think it's important because, frankly, I'm a little confused about the case when it comes to Dante. In fact, his name is mentioned specifically as a complainant here. Dante, good evening to you, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Chris, for having me. I appreciate it. Sorry for the late interview.
Well, that's quite all right. I think by the time you'll see this, I'll have no idea when we actually did the interview. It's midnight for you, and it's about 11 p.m. for me. But Dante, you're mentioned in this case. How did you become involved in this case, which was filed a couple of years ago? What's your role in this?
Okay, so Chris, everything started back in 2020 by Brackenfell High School matric function. So I've got an alert from one of the security guards called Titanium Securitas. They said, "Are you aware of the EFF coming to Brackenfell High School?" I said, "No, because my family is in the school." And he said, "But look, we've got rumors that the EFF might come and burn the school tomorrow." Obviously, I woke up 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock I was there. Eventually the EFF pulled up, and they were not allowed near the school as they were not having a permit to this. So me and the parents stood together and said, well, look, these people cannot come close to the school, as the learners was busy writing exams. So what we then did is, as the bucky, well, we call it a bucky, in your country you call it a truck. As the truck pulled up, they climbed out, started singing "Kill the Book, Kill the Farmer," and everything got out of hand since then. We as parents then moved closer to them just to ask them sincerely, look, guys, we don't want trouble. Please move away from the school. And the one's breath purely smelled like beer in my face as he's speaking in my face and shouting and, just being racist and arrogant, and it's not leading anywhere. So then we told them, look, we've made this line, you guys will not cross this line. And one of the parents took one of the berets, and the person crossed the line, and that's when the fight broke out. Later that day, I went home, everything calmed down. All the EFF wrote riot shields. There's pictures of it on the Google. You can just search my name. As I went home, I didn't know what would hit me when I checked my social media again. A lot of people phoned me saying, look, you have to go onto the social media. There's a lot of important stuff going on. As I go on, that's when it shocked me. First things I've seen is death threats upon death threats upon death threats. There's threats that I don't even want to mention. The previous interviewer stopped the interview completely when I read in the threats. So you must tell me, do you want to hear some of these threats? You should tell me. guilty, Chris.
Dante, it's not necessary. We know the sort of things that these evil EFF people have said to many people, threaten their lives, and some of these have been followed through, not necessarily by the EFF, but by others. So there's no need to go into that detail right now. Just continue with the story. So you were there with the original confrontation that took place when the beret was grabbed and the fight broke out, then went home and received death threats on social media. And so take up the story from there.
So that's correct. I was then, obviously, my family then told me, look, Dante, we need to get you in a safe house. There's too many things going on right now. I went to a safe house. I was about 2 weeks to a month in the safe house. I got a call from the detectives stating, look, there's a case been opened against you for assault. You have to come in so we can get this case going. I was then scared. I tried everything, look, because I knew I was going to get arrested at this stage. And the detective promised me, look, Dante, we just want to get the case going. I promised not to arrest you. He did keep his promise. He did not arrest me. This is 2 months after I was in the safe house. That's only when I went to the police station, because, I mean, at that stage, everything was too warm on me. The case started, the case was ongoing for 2 years. They later found me not guilty due to not having enough evidence against me. And that's when Malema's speech came. And death threats just came all over again. So, if I should continue, me decided, look, this cannot continue. This has to stop somewhere. They will just continue and continue and continue. And that's when I took the case to the Human Rights BU. And I got to meet Millie Wesley, my attorney. Very, very good attorney. As you know, it's not a lot of people that can bring that man down in court. So Millie is one of the few. Then we created the case against Julius Malema. I was very stressed about it because financially I don't have the money to run such a case. So Millie worked pro bono on this case, and we tried asking AfriForum, the DA, Vryheidsfront, everyone for financial. No one at all wanted to help. Just the bitterenders were the only ones to, look, there's my hand, take my hand, I'll guide you through this. They don't have much, but they tried. And we found Malema guilty on hate speech, incitement to violence. We did not just find Julius Malema guilty, but we found the whole EFF party guilty.
That's the comment I've been making. When the verdict came out, I was informed of it very quickly, within the hour when it was announced, and I quickly did a video on it. And my point in that video was that it wasn't just Malema, but also the economic freedom fighters found guilty of hate speech for endorsing what he said, and for him speaking on behalf of the party, essentially. And so that was, I think, a very big decision. So, as you said, you approached a number of groups you thought that might be helpful or sympathetic to help pay the legal costs, and AfriForum, Solidarity, the Freedom for Plus, none of those folks were able to help. But the Bitter Enders, a rather small group of folks, they tried to help. They had limited means, but they did step in to help you. Is that correct?
Yes, till the end. They are the only that actually stood till the end. Look, the AfriForum at the beginning said, Dante, we will help you. And as voting, you know, you get that time of the year, certain years that it's now time to vote. So it was at that stage, and we said, look, sorry, we cannot afford to ruin our name. All of them. That's the response we got, and our hands was basically chopped off. We couldn't do anything about this. So the Bitter Enders was the only. There's no one else.
Dante, you went that day when they showed up, and as I recall, and I think you mentioned, they did not have a permit, and this was also around the time the students were doing the matric exams, if I'm not mistaken. So from my perspective, I commented at the time that it appeared to me the EFF was coming to the school to intimidate the learners and threaten their safety. Is that what you were concerned about the day that you went to Brackenfell?
That's correct. So I did go to the school. As me and the EFF got closer to each other, I asked them, look, we don't want problems, go home. That's one of the pictures you can see on Google where my mouth is open on the pictures. That's as I said, go home. That's as I said that words. The person directly told me in my face, we are not here for you, we are here for the school principal. And that's when we said, look, You've got nothing to do with principle. And that's when everything goes. So yes, we were concerned about the learners. As we were protesting out the school, they were busy writing exams. Bombs were going off.
Has your whole family had to relocate as a consequence of all the death threats the past few years?
So my fiance, cousin, and brother were at the stage as well in retreat, and so we have relocated a few times. I've been in several safe houses. I've had bodyguards with me at the safe houses, with me all over. It's not even about my family no more. It's about my fiance and my child. You know, I have to, as soon as I get a death threat, I don't take it. I take it serious, and that's when I'm like, look, we have to go. I've got nothing to lose. You know, I don't have work because of all of this. I cannot find work. Everyone is too afraid to employ someone like me because, I mean, they're afraid that EFF might show up at their workspace. I understand the employer's situation.
Well, it must be quite frustrating. Are these death threats continuing? I mean, I would imagine they probably picked up again now that Malema's been found guilty, and there's probably some bum-hurt EFF members. Have you been getting more threats since the verdict?
I've received two threats, not death threats directly. I am watching everything as Malema and the EFF is found guilty. Any direct death threat will be used against the EFF.
Dante, for many years, many people have been angry at Malema's conduct, his race hustling, his threats of violence, his threats to kill white South Africans, and no one has ever brought him down. Your case has been decided. The verdict is guilty of hate speech. It's not a criminal case, but is an equality case. That's a unique distinction. Whatever happens going forward, you have a place in the history books, whether you intended to or not. Have you thought about that?
Well, Chris, if I have to be completely honest with you, it's hard in my country to believe something like that as a white man. I'm sorry to say it that way, but I'm a white man and I have to clarify it that way. It's very hard to believe it in my country, as my country is corrupt most of the times. So to me, it's just too good to be true. I'm still not believing it, but I believe so. Yeah.
So Dante, another point on this, you did mention you're 25, which would mean that you have only ever lived under the African National Congress's rule at the national level. You've never lived under the National Party, and you have nothing to do with apartheid. Do you feel that you still have to deal with the blame for apartheid, even though you were born free?
Look, even till today, after Malema has been found guilty, there has been some comments made that states, what do you have to say for your forefathers that killed my forefathers? Stuff like this. I would just please like to say, I cannot control for anything what my forefathers has done. I've got nothing to do with it. I don't know anything about apartheid. All I know is it was a black war, white war. That's all I have. That's all I know. But honestly, if I should say this, I think till today in South Africa there's an apartheid without being an apartheid, and I'll tell you why. We are consistently fighting over race. You know, if you come to South Africa, you'll see white stays there, brown people stays there, and black people stays there. It's not really mixed. You get what I'm saying? So somewhere along the line, there's still something to do with apartheid. I cannot help for anything that's going on in South Africa. I'm not the president. I mean, my president of my country has had the opportunity to go and speak the truth with Donald Trump. He sat in his face and laughed him in the face when Trump spoke about farm murders. And this is something serious. And there's a reason why white South Africans is fighting or this song, Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer, to be removed, because that's something that's actually happening in South Africa right now as we speak. Isn't even taking this serious.
No, I appreciate that. I'm well aware of it. Friends of mine have had family members murdered on more than one occasion on South African farms, and entirely because of their race, not for any other reason. So you've mentioned, and you don't seem bitter because you understand that people are afraid to employ you because the danger it could bring to their place of business. So obviously you can't work. I don't know what the future looks like here. If you had the opportunity to do a statement of interest and come to America as one of the refugees, would it be something that you'd be interested in if you had that opportunity?
If I can leave tomorrow, I'd leave tomorrow.
Well, that's fair enough. So Dante, other than the bitter enders, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know your name. I recognize your face from the images that occurred that day at Brockenfell. But other than the bitter enders, has there been anybody lending you any moral support or encouragement while you've gone through this process? It must have been incredibly lonely and be honest, a little frightening.
There are a few people, like normal citizens, that have said, look, Dante, we know financially it's not going well with you and your fiance and child, so here's something, go buy your child something, or look, there's some electricity, go buy some electricity. There's been a few people like this, but mostly people has looked down on me and think Dante cannot do this. No one can bring Julius Malema down. Look, I'll tell you this, I didn't bring Malema down. I wouldn't be able to. My attorney, Millie Westy, brought him down, not me.
Well, that may be the case, but the victimization, the assaults, the attacks, the threats on you are what precipitated this and made it possible for such a fine attorney to get this judgment. Now, Dante, from my perspective, I'm not satisfied. This is an equality court judgment. I want imprisonment for Julius Malema, to be honest. I would rather see a criminal conviction. I don't know if anyone's going to go forward with a criminal complaint, but this was an equality court. So it's an administrative judgment, correct?
That's correct. So the human rights, I'm not sure if you are aware that the human rights were first respondents on this case. They won the cases against Julius and the whole EFF party as well. They are taking it further and making crime and injury cases against Julius Malema. Look, he's already been found guilty. Previously, I'm talking about a few years ago, there has been someone found guilty in hate speech and got 7 years up to jail. Well, jail sentence. So there's that. I'm not sure completely what's going on, as this has nothing to do with me. I mean, we were just opening the case to ask for an apology. Court gave him 11 days. Look, Julius Malema, you have to say sorry to this person and withdraw your statements immediately. And he refused. And that's when the court decided, look, if he refuses, we continue. And well, not the court, me, I decided that. And the court found him guilty. And as I'm just reading on news articles right now, what's going on with this case, I've seen that human rights is taking this further.
Well, however we describe this, whether it was your attorney or the circumstances and you personally or the South African Human Rights Commission, this is, whether something substantive comes from this or not, it is a rather remarkable day in the current history of South Africa that Julius Malema, after years of getting away with shameful rhetoric, is finally found guilty of saying things that are harmful to other South Africans. You must feel some sense of relief or some sense of righteousness that this was the verdict. How do you feel about it?
Look, thanks for asking that. Actually, I will never be relieved, and I'll tell you why. Consistently, I have to look over my shoulder, even though he's found guilty. In my country, if you are being found guilty, that means there's war. So I'll tell you, one death threat I've received, not look over my shoulder. There's one threat I've received that says, a threat that says, we are coming for you, Dante van Wyk. Someone asked on that comment, and what exactly is your plan with this person, Dante van Wyk? I've got proof of everything, and that's everything I've been used in court against Malema. He said, one of the EFF members said, we will cut his wife's, the child out of his wife's stomach and hang him just like farm murders. there's a clear picture showing this. I know it sounds a bit funny to you. I mean, my English is making it a bit sound, not real, but I mean, how else did I find Julius Malema guilty if I did not have all of this proof? So this isn't something I'm sucking out of my thumb.
Yeah, you've sacrificed an awful lot, and I imagine before this, you had a normal life. You were probably working and building a relationship and looking towards the future, and that's all been kind of destroyed by what happened at Brockenfell and the EFF's actions, correct?
Well, before the age of 20 years, I was actually well off. I had 3 businesses. I had a cash for gold business, where I buy people's jewelry, but and resell it again. I had a business where I pressure hose people's driveways and roofs. I was in partnership with the air conditioning company, so I was well off. But everything has come to an end. I mean, if you as an owner of a business cannot get to site, controlled site, everything will go. So I mean, I lost my businesses. I still do something, I will not say what, but I still do something for a little bit of income, but it's still not enough.
Given the notoriety of the case and the situation and the fact that the EFF is located all over the country, is it even realistic for you to relocate to a different province where maybe you're not as well known and start up life there again? Or is this situation just ruined life for you everywhere in South Africa?
Okay, so we have 9 provinces in South Africa. I'd say the Western Cape is one of the safest provinces, as it's being run by the DA. So no, my only option is to get out of the country. There's no relocating in South Africa.
That's a very sad situation. I'm sorry to hear that, but I am grateful that you've shared your story with us here. Dante, I'm going to give you an opportunity here if there's anything you'd like to say, because I believe that this conviction may encourage people to come forward. Many people who've been grievously harmed by the comments, or their family members been murdered or assaulted because of the things Malema's been singing and saying for years. I think more people might be willing to come forward now and file criminal injuria cases and file criminal cases and equality court case against Malema. Is there anything you'd like to say to folks that might be willing to or consider filing a case, or any final comments you'd like to share with folks? Because you've gone through quite an ordeal and it's not even over.
Okay, so Chris, I think that's a very good question. Look, I would not personally wish for anyone to go through the kind of trauma that I've been through. I'm not just mentioning myself. I'm mentioning my child, unborn child at the stage. I'm mentioning my fiance. I'm not going to tell anyone, look, do this. But what I will say is, if you don't do it, there will never be a stop. The best advice I can tell you, and I mean, if I was 20 years and I could do this, you can do it as well. Stop being quiet, because your quietness is making this guy, everyone think, look, this guy can do whatever he wants. I mean, if you're in the same situation as I am, please, even though it might put your life in danger, I know exactly the feelings. I mean, I've been there. But do yourself a favor, do what you have to do. Pay your last penny, use your last cent in using for security. Move away from where you currently are. If you have to sell your home, move away from where you are. Get security immediately. Get dogs that are trained. Everything that can secure you and your family, do it immediately. And don't be quiet. Because if you're quiet again, the truth won't get out.
So Dante, all this aside, let's set aside Malema, the EFF, the death threats, all that. I do want to congratulate you, not on the victory in the court case, but on the fact that you have a fiance and a child on the way. All that's happened, I mean, it would be very easy for a partner to have abandoned you and walked away. She must really care a lot about you.
Well, I mean, I'm not one of the best good-looking persons out there, but I mean, probably I've done something right. I mean, one thing I can assure you is I've shown my family that I can truly protect them. So I mean, that's probably one of the reasons she was with me in this whole thing from the beginning till the end. So, yeah.
From somewhere deep in the heart of South Africa, exclusive conversation tonight with Dante van Wyk, who was one of the complainants in the case that finally found Julius Sellotape Malema guilty of hate speech. Dante, bye-bye donkey for your time and for your courage. I think my viewers will really appreciate your presence.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
watching.